Welcome everyone. Today we're going to make a beautiful hat.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the second episode of STEM Chat. Diane and I are so happy to have you guys here with us, and today we are going to talk about paper geometry.
We're thinking about things like origami and paper engineering. We like to do them a lot with our kids, and it's a great hands-on way for them to learn about different math concepts.
That's right. We're here to show you that math can be fun.
Origami helps young children develop dexterity. It also teaches them about shapes and partitioning shapes. For example, 2 squares make a rectangle. And it starts to teach them about symmetry and making things the same on both sides, and position, top, bottom, up, down, in front of, behind, over, and under. Origami also teaches older kids about partitioning shapes, as well as fractions, parallel lines, types of symmetry, angles, and parts of a shape, sides and vertices. It also teaches about different types of 2D and 3D shapes. We had a parallelogram that was folded over here, and it really helps with their spatial development and reasoning.
So Diana and I actually really love origami, and it's something that we do with our kids all the time, especially during quarantine.
Yeah, and I actually started doing it very early with my second daughter. My grandmother was always saying that growing up in China, the origami paper was very cheap, and it was like a cheap toy that you give to kids. So they can tear up the paper, they can rumple it up. It's just like nothing. You're just like, oh, okay, origami paper, and they can make whatever they want, and that way they get used to exploring it and having fun. So I was really precious with the paper with my first daughter, but then I found this book on Amazon Japan, and it had a lot of really neat projects for younger kids. So this one, you scrumple up the paper and you can make ice cream, and it also shows that you can tear up the paper and make lots of different things like these collages. And it has some basic folding and shape designs too. And my daughter is actually sitting beside me doing origami right now. And
I think that also is great because it teaches kids not to be afraid to making the paper too precious, to make mistakes. Yes. So they can kind of, it doesn't matter. Try another sheet of paper, crumple it up, do whatever you want. I like that.
Yep. So I started doing origami with my second daughter when I think she was under 1. And Natalie, could you help pull up the picture?
Yes.
When we first started out, she was just scrunching and crumpling the paper, and we had these bowls and rings made by a company called Graf Hat. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. So she would put the paper inside or thread it through the ring. And I think it was really great for her dexterity and kind of learning some basic shapes like triangles and rectangles and squares. And then if you could go to the next photo. So this is later on when she's a little bit older and she started folding the paper, and we're still scrunching it up and putting it in the bowls and rings, but she's also rolling it. It's just a really nice hands-on way to explore. And
I wish
nice
I knew
for an
that.
indoor rainy day activity.
I wish I knew that when my daughter was younger, because she needed to practice her hand dexterity because she was a lot younger than other kids in her class for preschool.
Oh.
So this is great. This is great. In addition to playing with counting beans and things, but I think getting them to build their muscles in their hands.
Yeah. They always say that playing with Play-Doh and kind of muscle hand building activities helps them with writing later. So it's a good lead up.
Yeah, that's great.
When I was younger, I remember that my mom went to an origami convention, and I thought it would kind of be a fun thing to do, especially during the pandemic with my kids. So Origami USA was having an Un-Convention, and they were putting all the classes on Zoom. And I asked Natalie if she wanted to participate with her daughter. So she did also, and it was a lot of fun because we were kind of texting back and forth while we were getting instructions, and it's kind of an interactive thing to do, even though we were far away from each other.
I had never gone to an origami conference before, and just knowing Diana all these years, she was telling me about her experience with them. I thought it was fun because we're not in New York, so we're not able to go to places. I don't know where the conference would have been, but New York's traveling now. Oh, in New York. Okay, yeah. So that's exactly it. And so what was really cool is, I actually ordered the origami paper for the classes on their site, and it came pretty fast to the Bay Area. So I would say it took just 2 days. So that was great. They have tons of different kinds of paper. I had no idea personally that there was just beyond this regular like kami size of scrapbook, like this size of paper, that kind of opened my mind to everything else. So it was cool. I even found some little like mini paper on Amazon. And these are fun to make little stars.
Oh, those are cute. Yeah, we started ordering from Amazon Japan this paper. I guess I don't know how to pronounce it, Tant. But it's really neat because it's kind of like a construction paper, and it makes whatever you make with it look really nice. Hold on just a second. The other paper that we have is see-through. It's transparent, and you can make really neat stars to put on your windows. So here you can kind of
it's pretty.
See, and it overlays and the colors go together.
That's really cool. And I was going to show you, I didn't realize that you can actually do origami with like scrapbook size paper, 12 by 12. And this is actually metallic. So my daughter used this for her project, which I'll be showing you guys soon, because we had plenty of paper here. But I just want to show you, during the conference, I was able to fold a little koala. So cute. This was like an hour class workshop, and it was really fun. It's so meditative to just like get into like making shapes and thinking about little things in paper. You know, some little flat piece of paper can actually make this little 3D shape, which is pretty amazing.
And that one was
try to do this.
That one was neat too, because I think it was a wet folding one. Did you wind up spraying it with water? I wasn't brave enough to spray mine, but you can spray it with water and then sculpt it afterwards.
Yes, I know. I was afraid to.
yeah, but it's neat though, because you don't necessarily think you can put water on origami paper.
Yeah, and also, even if there's a typical like paper crane, my daughter and I fold these. This is really fun that we do, and you can find lots of tutorials on how to do this on YouTube.
Those are nice. So we made this at the convention. And you can make bigger ones. I think this one had 6 pieces. It's modular. And then there was a really neat class by Robert Lang, I think, and he showed some polyhedrons. But the neat part about these is that you can twist the pieces to assemble the polyhedron, which is very unusual. Usually you just stick the piece in. So I thought that was a lot of fun.
That's the one I want to go back and really go through and make pieces. I don't know how many pieces it would take to make the whole.
Maybe it was 60. That was the one we were texting back and forth about, though, because we were like, oh, did you get that step? I missed that step. Oh, no, I'm lost. Yeah, it took some going. That one was
difficult, but I think maybe during the holidays it'll be fun to kind of just cozy up. And now they have the recordings. I can just like slow down and pause and go back. So that's fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
So when we talk origami, you can't cut paper, right? Origami is you have to just do folds and what have you. We're going to move on to like paper geometry. And what my daughter did, my daughter goes to a French bilingual school. And I really find it interesting that different cultures teach math differently. And for French math, they do a lot more visual things with math than American math for some reason. So they had a project to create paper animals using prisms. So I'm going to add this in. And she created this paper lion. And what she did was she planned out her whole thing. I told her to think about all the shapes. They had to include certain shapes. She went through and she wrote everything out on paper first, what she was going to do for each part. And she used my big 12 by 12 origami paper that was shiny for this to make it fun. And she kind of drew out like a sketch of what the shapes were. I kind of gave her sort of like a one-on-one on the design process. So we went through Google Images and found like, I'm going to go here. We found a photo of a lion, like how they kind of sit to think about how we're going to make the shapes for the legs. And this gave her an idea.
That's really neat.
Yeah, this gave her the idea, inspiration to say, oh, you know what? I want that nose and that face to be a trapezoid. And I wasn't actually even visual. I didn't understand how to visualize that, but she thought like, I really want that face to kind of pop out. So she made that a trapezoid. So she actually went through and she planned out the whole thing, used her compass, measured everything is accurately measured. And then used her ruler to draw everything out first on all the pieces of origami paper. And I thought it was so precise. We kind of documented the whole process. And she had so much. She's like, I want to draw the face.
Oh, wow.
And so creatively, she is, doing some hands-on math and building the stuff, but she's having so much fun, which I think is great. So it's a lot of, she had fun making a little face, really pretty, and then cutting out all the pieces, a lot of pieces, and putting it all together and using, we have this little tape roller to connect it all. And just, at the end, getting photos. So she used cylinders for the legs, a rectangle for prism for the body, hexagon prism for the head, and then the trapezoid prism for the face. So in the end now, she has this cute little lion now she's displaying on her dresser in her room. And I think there's a huge sense of accomplishment. And I think for older kids, it's really fun to do. You can start slow too. I think there's plenty of downloads, and I'll include some down below on YouTube here for you guys, of just basic shapes you can cut out. And so you can use those if you want to just have kids cut out shapes and tape them together. So I'll leave a bunch of links to some PDFs and stuff or printables you can print out. But you can start slow, but then you can say, hey, what do you want to make? Let's make something from paper. Maybe if they don't want to fold it with origami, we can make it with with prisms and 3D shapes. And this really builds their spatial mind too.
Oh, that's great. We would really like the printables also. My daughter in kindergarten had a similar project, but kind of like a kindergarten version, where she was given a shape that she could pick from school. So she chose a cylinder, and then at home she cut it out and assembled it and made it into something that she chose. So she chose to make a bunch of tree trunks.
Oh, that's cool. That's fun. I think there's so many things you can do. There's making like a little scene. You can do a diorama, having a shoebox and putting in little shapes and building a little scene of things too. They could be mixed the prisms with origami together.
Oh, yeah, that would be
like an animal scene.
Yeah.
Future idea too. Recently, we had a talk with Terri Selting David, author of the Renegade Spy Project, and it was a great talk about STEM and math. And she runs these amazing camps for girls and boys in San Francisco. So we got some really good discussions with her. We're going to include a short excerpt from the interview in this episode, but the full interview will be up soon, which we'll link in this page as well.
Okay, so this episode is about math. So we are wondering if there are any math projects or things in particular that you like, since you've been guiding so many children.
Yeah, so math is really interesting. It's not my particular strong suit. I'm more of an engineering and technology kind of person. But math is such a foundational tool for everything. And I think that, interesting story, I love to put things that exercise, like I've been saying, that exercise the visual spatial things, but also patterning and other math concepts. So one of the big things is origami. I love origami. It's so good for exercising the brain. And I put that in one of my curriculum, and we had a lot of pushback from parents about, I don't want my kid playing. They're supposed to be learning math. And what that really taught me was that, that a lot of kids are very resistant to math. And when you approach it as a game first, and then you say, hey, guess what? You were doing math. This patterning, this weaving, this, putting together patterns, counting things, sorting things, these are all math. And then they a light bulb goes on and say, well, I thought math was numbers. And some kids really love the numbers and really love the riddle of an equation. But some don't. And the way to get to the ones who don't is to show them that equations are tools. They're tools to get to something bigger. And if you show them the something bigger, and you allow them to play, and you allow them to say, origami is really fun, and origami is math, instead of you can either do math or origami. And I think that as grown-ups, we've been taught that a lot. We were taught equations. So that's what we think. So it's hard. I get how parents are resistant to that. Specifically, some of the things that we really find that they love are art projects with math. And things like infinity tiles are super easy, super quick, and the kids like them. You take just a bunch of same size squares, and you fold them so that you find the center, and then you have like, you know, half an inch each thing, and then you just connect them in any way that you want. And then you can put them together into a puzzle and make rows or stop rows. You know, all of the tiles fit together. If you put a connecting point at each tile in the same place, it doesn't matter what's in the middle. And the kids really, I mean, that's, especially the younger kids, you know, they draw on it and they try and fool it, and then they put it together, and it creates this really neat pattern, this map, almost like a maze. And they really like that.
That's neat.
That sounds so cool.
I wish I could go to your camp when I was little. It sounds like a lot of fun.
Right, that's what we do, right? We try and make things that we wanted and help people respond to them.
Well, I think that's so cool, the stuff you're doing, and we're so excited to have you here on our show. Please, thank you for joining us, and then let us know when your next book comes out, and we'd love to have you come on again.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for having me. I love what you're doing.
Thank you, Terri.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Hi, everyone. So we would like to share some of our favorite things this month, and we're going to start with a rock update. Okay, so if you remember last episode, we got a new rock tumbler, and we started tumbling with the #1 coarse grit. Here it is. It's just a powder you put on top of the rocks, and these are what the rocks look like going into the tumbler. This is after 1 week of tumbling in the coarse grit. You can see they've really rounded themselves out, and the next 3 grits will polish the stones and make them smoother. So we'll see how it goes.
So how long do they stay in the tumbler with the grit?
Let's see. So this they stay for about a week with each grit, and there are 4 different types of grit. Or I don't know if they're all called grit. I think the later ones are called polish and pre-polish.
So do you run it for like an hour each day?
Oh, no, you keep running it. It just runs continuously.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and fortunately, the one that we got is kind of quiet, so it's not too loud. But I remember the one I had as a child was really loud. We had to keep it out in the garage.
Oh my God. That's cool. But it is, I do see a difference, which is amazing.
Yeah. It's really running them out. And then the one that I showed here was kind of a neat surprise, because that one was actually pretty sparkly, and it wasn't like that when it was rough at all.
Oh, cool. That's cool to teach kids some patience, to see the payoff. Nothing is right immediately here, but you're able to see over time, week by week, right?
Yeah, little differences. And they're having fun cleaning all the rocks off, because they're kind of muddy and stuff when they come out of the tumbler.
Wow, it's really fun to see the progress.
Thanks. Well, hopefully we'll have more progress next episode.
Cool.
Natalie would like to share, this is not a maths book.
So this is actually a book that Diana recommended to me before she had kids for my daughter. And so I got it right away, and actually was published in England. And that's why it says maths. But I looked on Amazon. They actually have an American version now saying this is not a math book. So I'll link that below. I think it's a great book because it's like a puzzle book, and you can draw and, connect dots and shapes and play number games. So it really teaches kids to have fun with math, which is what we try and reinforce. They're playing with things and they're learning stuff. And I don't know why on Amazon it says it's for ages 9 to 12, but I really think kids younger can play this. Not play this, but read this book. As long as they can read, or if you were there to find certain pages of what you think they can do, like connect the dots. Diana, can you show inside the, the Pascal's patterns? My daughter loves like number problems. So Pascal patterns teaches you like sort of understanding like how numbers can actually be a game. So you just go through and you plug through. They show you the patterns of how the numbers go, and she really likes that. And then there are other projects in this book that teaches you how to use a compass. You can make circles with a compass. So kind of you're getting kids used to using math tools, compasses, rulers, protractors, and things like that. So
yeah, and I really like the there's one project about spiralaterals. I think they call it loop-de-loop here. But I did that as a science fair project when I was in high school. So that was kind of neat to see.
That's very cool. Anyway, it's a great book. And there's also a second book. It's the green cover.
Here it is.
This is also a really great. This is not another maths book. So it's such a great book. It's fun. It's just an activity book, but it's just well designed and well thought out of for kids.
And I wanted to show we have some large format art books at home, and we like the MC Escher books. There's a whole bunch of different ones, but since you can't get to museums as easily these days, it's nice for kids to be able to look at the artwork nice and big. Here's some examples. Let's see. One more. This is my daughter's favorite.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
Thank you so much for joining us for the paper geometry episode of STEM Chat.
And feel free to leave us a comment if you like this episode. Show us what you're making, and we'll see you next month. Bye.
Bye.